Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing a Gaia the Fierce Knight deck profile. So I'm really excited this one, guys, because this was actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Tyler. And the really exciting thing about this deck is Tyler and I actually worked together to build this deck with all the techs in this deck, and it is a really amazing OTK based deck that summons out some very large dragon champion monsters to your side of the field to OTK your opponent. So without further ado, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards like getting your name in the description of a single video, getting assigned cards to the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron along with test stands. And definitely give Tyler some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome nostalgic deck. So let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing 3 copies of Gaia the Magical Knight. This card is the best normal summon in the entire deck because it has the ability that this card is always treated as a Gaia the Fierce Knight card. And if you control no monsters, or if your opponent controls a monster with 2300 or more attack, you can normal summon this card without tributing. And if this card is normal or special summoned, then you can special summon one level 5 dragon monster from your hand or grave in defense position, which is a great effect to be able to special summon out to your side of the field any of your Curse of Dragon monsters. We then play a single copy of Gaia the Fierce Knight Origin. You basically play this card as a one-off in the deck to be an additional Gaia monster, and has the ability that this card is treated as 2 tributes for the tribute summon of a warrior monster, and you can only use each of the following effects of this card once per turn. You can send one level 5 or higher monster from your hand to the graveyard to special summon this card from your hand, and during the battle phase, quick effect, you can banish this card from the graveyard, target one monster on the field whose current attack is different from its original attack, and its attack becomes its original attack, which comes in very handy with our copy of our Gaia the Magical Knight of Dragons, because this card can actually drop its own attack points all the way down to 0 to pop cards on the field. So this card actually fixes that with some of the other text that we have in the deck. We then play 3 copies of Curse of Dragon, the Cursed Dragon. This card is really good in this deck because it has the ability that if this card is normal or special summon, you can add one spell or trap from your deck to your hand that specifically lists Gaia the Dragon Champion in its text, which is always going to be our fusion spell, the Spiral Fusion, if we don't have it, but we have a bunch of cards in this deck this card can actually summon. It also has a really neat effect that if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can target a Gaia the Dragon Champion you control, negate every effect monster or every face-up monster that your opponent controls effects with attack less than or equal to that monster's until the end of the turn, which when you summon it out with Spiral Fusion will go all the way up to 52, so you can negate a bunch of monsters on the field. We then play 3 copies of Curse of Dragon, the Cursed Dragon. This card is really good in this deck as well because it's a walking polymerization. I really like this card as a walking polymerization, but the only thing that's a downside of this card is once per turn you can fusion summon a fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters you control, including this card, which is a little bit of a downside for this card, but it's still really good to have that additional monster that's a walking poly. The only thing that I don't particularly care for about this card is that you can't use monsters from the hand, but it's still really good for this deck as a 3-up because you can summon it to your side of the field. When you summon out your copy of Gaia, this will actually can special summon off the copy of the effect of the Gaia, and then you can just fuse these 2 monsters away on the field to summon out one of your dragon champions. We then play 3 copies of Artillery Catapult Turtle, rounding out the monsters. This card is really good because you can tribute off a monster on your side of the field to special summon a Gaia the Fierce Knight or a level 5 dragon monster from your hand or deck, which is an awesome effect to be able to special summon out your Curse of Dragon, the Cursed Dragon. Now we're only playing the 12 monsters in this deck, so let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Monster Reborn. This card is an extender for the deck, just to bring back our monsters to our side of the field. 1 copy of Harpy's Feather Duster, because we're primarily an OTK based deck, so this card helps out a lot to be able to go in for that OTK. 1 copy of Terraforming to get one of our 6 field spells that we play in this deck. 1 copy of Instant Fusion just to give us a little added protection with some of the cards that we're playing in the extra deck. 1 copy of Called by the Grave to stop our opponent from hand trapping us. 1 copy of Set Rotation for the 2 different field spells that we play in this deck. And a single copy of Dragon's Mirror because you can actually summon out your copy of your Gaia fusion monsters from the extra deck because they are considered dragon monsters using your copy of Dragon's Mirror. I have actually considered bumping this card up to 2, but at 1 it seems perfect. We then play 2 copies of Spiral Spear Strike. The reason we're playing 2 of this card is because it's actually searchable off our copy of Sky Galloping Gaia, which is why we just play 2 copies of it in the deck. This card gives all of our Dragon Champion monsters Gaia and Gaia the Fierce Knight piercing damage, and if this card is, or if you attack with a Gaia the Dragon Champion and inflict damage to your opponent, then you can draw 2 cards and discard a card. Now the really neat thing about this effect is that it does stack, which is very interesting for this deck, that this card actually stacks and lets you draw 4 if you have both of them on the field, which is a really awesome combo for this deck. We then play 2 copies of Ultra Polymerization. Ultra Polymerization lets you pay 2,000 life points to fusion summon a fusion monster from your extra deck using 2 monsters that you control as fusion materials, and neither player can activate cards in response to this card's activation. And when you summon that monster, if the fusion materials are in the graveyard, you can special summon them back to your side of the field with 0 attack. Now the neat thing is about this card is if you open up a copy or a way to get to your copies of your Magical Knight plus your Curse of Dragon, this card, you can actually summon out 2 of your Dragon Champions by normal summoning out the Gaia, special summoning out the Curse of Dragon, and then add your Spiral Fusion from deck to hand, activate this, fusion summon into your first Gaia. It will bring back the Gaia and the Curse of Dragon to your side of the field, and then use the Spiral Fusion to go into the second Gaia, the Dragon Champion, which is a really good effect because it gets you out 2 monsters. We then play 3 copies of Spiral Fusion. Spiral Fusion is one of the best cards in the entire deck because it has the ability to let you fusion summon into a Dragon Fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. And if you special summon a Gaia the Dragon Champion by this effect, it gains 2,600 attack, and it can make 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase, which is a awesome effect. We then play 3 copies of Gateway of Chaos because when this card is activated, you can add a Gaia the Fierce Knight monster from your deck to your hand. 3 copies of Galloping Gaia. Galloping Gaia is a great field spell as well because this card comes in very handy with the effect to reveal a Gaia the Fierce Knight monster in your hand to add a level 5 dragon from your deck to your hand, or to reveal a level 5 dragon in your hand to add a Gaia the Fierce Knight monster from your deck to your hand. And basically you can reveal the Curse of Dragon to add Gaia, or you can reveal Gaia to add Curse of Dragon. We then play 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. The Pot of Extravagances are in here because it's really good draw power, and as long as you don't banish all of your Gaia fusion monsters, this card is going to always give you a +1. We then play 3 copies of a really awesome tech, which is 3 copies of Book of Eclipse. This actually was suggested to me by Tyler, and this card is really good in this deck. This card lets you flip all face-up monsters on the field into face-down defense position, and then during the end phase of this turn, you can change as many face-down defense position monsters that your opponent controls into face-up defense position, and then your opponent draws cards equal to the number of monsters changed to face-up by this effect. Now, usually you're going to activate this card right off the bat when you go second, because this deck does go very well going second. And this is a really nice card in the deck because it's a massive Book of Moon that's going to flip all of those monsters into face down defense, and comboed with your Spiral Spear Strike, you're going to be doing piercing damage, which is really awesome with cards like your Gaia, the Magical Knight of Dragons. And this card gains attack depending on if it destroys a monster by battle. So you're going to be getting a really big piercing monster on your side of the field. So this is a really good combo. Now, the really awesome combo about this card as well is if you use all of the attack points on your Gaia, the Magical Knight of Dragons, for popping cards, which we'll get into in just a minute, and it goes down to 0 attack, you can actually use this card to flip everything on the field face down, and then when you flip summon it back up, it will come back out with 26 because it doesn't recognize it as 0 defense or 0 attack when it's face down. When you flip summon it, it will actually come back to 26, which is a really awesome effect. So that's it for the spells, guys. I know it is a lot of spells, but this deck does need them. So let's get into the traps, which we only play 1 trap in the whole deck, and that is a single copy of Spiral Reborn. Spiral Reborn lets you target 1 level 7 or lower dragon monster in the graveyard and special summon it. And if you special summon a Gaia the Dragon Champion by this effect, your opponent cannot target it with card effects, and it cannot be destroyed by card effects either, which is a pretty good effect just to give it a little bit of bonus protection. So that's it for the main deck. Let's get into into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, since we're playing Pot of Extravagance, this extra deck is going to be a lot of 3-ofs, but all of them are necessary. So we're going to be playing 3 copies of the Gaia, the Magical Knight of Dragons. This card is a great boss monster. It takes a Gaia, the Fierce Knight monster, plus any level 5 dragon monster to summon this card. If this card becomes Gaia the Dragon Champion while it's on the field, and you can only use each of the following effects of this card once per turn. During your main phase, or during the main phase, during yours or your opponent's main phase, quick effect, you can target one other card on the field, and this card loses exactly 2600 attack, and if it does, destroy that card. And when this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, then you can make this card gain 2600 attack. Now, when you summon it out with Spiral Fusion, it is going to go up by 26, going to 52, and then Spiral Fusion lets it attack twice, so you can attack once with this card, destroy a monster by battle. It'll go up to 78, which is really, really big. And then when it attacks again, it will go up to 10,400, which is a lot of damage. That is an insane amount of damage, and it is just absolutely crazy. And it is just super cool that it'll actually go up to 10,400. We then play 3 copies of Sky Galloping Gaia, the Dragon Champion. This card is really cool because it has the ability that this card's name becomes Gaia, the Dragon Champion while it is on the field. And if this card is special summoned, you can add a Spiral Spear Strike from your deck to your hand. And it also has the ability that when this card declares an attack, you can change opponent's monster's battle position, which is pretty good to change them into face-up attack or change them into attack position or defense position, so you can do extra piercing damage with your copies of your Spiral Spear Strike. We then play 2 copies of Alligator Sword Dragon because this card is a really good instant fusion target, which is a really cool tech card because this card actually is a level 5 dragon, so you can special summon this card out to your side of the field, and it's really fun to play this card in the deck because it is kind of like Joey's version of Gaia the Dragon Champion. We then play 3 copies of Millenniumizer Strict. This card gives us a little bit of protection from hand traps because you can use this card with your copies of your instant fusion. 3 copies of Link Rebo because you can get rid of your copies of Millenniumize for this card, and then a single copy of Red Eyes Flare Metal because it's pretty easy to actually put 2 level 7s on the field because all of your dragon champions are level 7. If you get your opponent down to low life points, you can summon this card by overlaying 2 level 7s, and then every time they basically breathe, they're going to take 500 points of damage, which is absolutely great. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hit the bell there so you can come part of Notification Squad. This deck is a super fun deck. I really love the way that it plays, and it's just a really awesome deck. It's super cool to be able to go into Gaia the Dragon Champion and have a deck based around it. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hit the bell there so you can come part of Notification Squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description down below, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.